Hey, everybody, welcome in. It is Michigan football today. I am Dennis Fithian, and I am joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli, who is on the screen. He's ready to go. Scar, it's been a couple days for me. The power was knocked out at the studio around 1 o'clock. It is still that way, so I've taken my act on the road. Those of you that are watching, you'll notice a little bit different area behind me, but we're ready for Saturday. How you doing?
I'm sorry for your situation there, Denny. A lot of people lost their power, but yeah, we're 48 hours from kickoff and we are fired up. Everything is going in the right direction. Just a couple things real quick. Rise to the victors. I don't know if you saw that and took a look at the group there putting for the Maize and Blue review with Josh and the guys. Great. I listened to them. Really good, informative stuff. High quality, intelligent guys bringing good information. Really fired up about some of the things they're bringing to the table there. And I just want to mention this, Denny. A couple weeks back, I made a mistake as a former student. I was talking about this one building. I was thinking about the Freeze building, which was way on the other end of campus. And by mistake, I said Angel Hall. And one of our listeners commented that, Angel Hall is only a short distance. And he was absolutely right. I made a mistake. I want to point this out, though. I thrive on debate. I thrive on our listeners that disagree and have good points. I respect them. I accept them. You and I we want your feedback, and I encourage debate. Love it. No hard feelings here. It's all about trying to get to the truth.
Great stuff. Good to hear. Well, in that line, messing with my microphone here. It's a little bit different being on the road and everything. Well, sir, we knew about it over the weekend, and then Harbaugh talked about it again on Monday. It is the talk of the team. It's one of the headlines nationally, and it comes down to Michigan and Jim Harbaugh's plan to play K. McNamara in game one and then come back with J.J. McCarthy in game two. We have talked about all summer long, you and I, how to deploy these guys, how we would end up doing it, what the rotation was going to be. Right now, we know about the starters, and it has people worked up. What do you think of the quarterback plan?
I think it's brilliant. I think Jim's smart. I think I'm gonna break it down from a former teammate, former defensive player, former defensive coach, former head coach standpoint. I'm gonna start with Cade McNamara. Okay, he's a smart, accurate. He's tested. He's been to Penn State. He's been to Nebraska on the road. Okay, he's sound. He secures the ball. He feels the pocket real good. He avoids the rush. He's done those things. What else do I have here? Some of the things that limit him are, the QB run. We don't have much of that with him in the game. I think anytime you rush a more stationary quarterback, you can be a little more aggressive as a defensive end, outside backer, which I played. You can be more aggressive. It limits. But we can win a championship with him. We can win a championship with him, no question. He's already proven it. Now I'm going to talk about JJ. JJ is smart. He's accurate. He's confident as heck. He's not as tested, but he hasn't made many mistakes at all. He's a kid that, is sound. He avoids the rush. He puts the defense. Again, the pass rushers now, I know as a former defensive end, if the kid can run, it creates more problems. It slows me down. The whole defensive front, it's more of a problem. So he creates that. Okay, QB run is always there with JJ in the game off the RPO stuff. It puts more pressure on the defense. Okay, the naked boots, the quarterback power, like we saw against Ohio State a while back. So the kid doesn't have really any downside. He just hasn't played enough. He hasn't proven. So, but we can win a championship with JJ alone. We could win a championship with Cade alone. We can win a championship with JJ alone. I have total confidence in that. With our run game, the coaches, the defense, I have no question, no doubt with either of those situations, we could win a championship. Okay, here's the strength of having both of them. Okay, and this is the best scenario. Okay, you're always one injury away. As a football coach, you always got to get your second kid ready. That's one of one of many things I learned from Coach Schembechler. He put so much emphasis on that second string kid. You're one injury away. You got to have the number 2 guy ready. So that's the big advantage. The second big advantage is now the defenses have to prepare for 2 guys. We have quarterback run threat more with JJ in the game and all the stuff that he can do with quarterback run. The defense doesn't know which kid's going to be in the game. And so that's a huge advantage for that. And another thing that the offensive play caller, and I've been in this situation, is if you only have one quarterback, let's say all we had was Cade and JG was gone, he transferred out, and we had the backup as our walk-on backup, whoever, I forget his name. You are really going to limit how much run plays you're going to call for your starting quarterback if the backup kid is not on that level. So it limits your offensive play calling. So that makes it easier for the defense. But if I got 2 really good ones, I am full bore, always quarterback run threat is always there, regardless of who the quarterback is. So it helps the offensive play caller. He doesn't need to be conservative as much about being concerned with his starting quarterback getting hit, getting hurt. I'd much rather have, I think 2 is the way. I like what Zach Zinner said, that he's supporting either one of them. But I'd much rather have, Cade with JJ instead of JJ pissed off transferring to Illinois or Cade pissed off transferring to Indiana. So I think Jim Harbaugh did a masterful job of leadership, finding a way to keep 2 really good ones on our roster. And I think he deserves a credit because we're going to go to Iowa here in a couple weeks. Now, I sure as hell feel pretty damn confident with 2 of them. I wouldn't want to go in there with one of them. And again, the walk-on kid as our backup where we stand now. So what else do I have in my notes? Jim understands the mentality of those 2 quarterbacks and how important it is to have one, be the confident guy. He obviously doesn't think it's that big an issue moving these guys in and out. He played the damn position. And I think that Jim feels that the continuity of one guy is not as valuable as the problems it gives the defense, the depth of the strength of having 2. So he's weighed it. Now I kind of went on, but I think Jim Harbaugh has Michigan in a great position to compete because we have 2 good ones ready to roll. And opposed to like Ohio State, they got 1. Michigan State, they got 1. Maryland, we know the kid's good. Tua's good. But who's the backup? I don't know. If that kid gets hurt, those coaches are sweating. Okay, so I think we're in a great situation. Jim Harbaugh, masterful leadership. We're ready to roll.
Yeah, I don't quite see it how you do, Scar. I think that the one thing that you do have to remember is that Michigan has some easy games here at the start, so they can do things unconventional. And we really don't know what the plan is going to be. We don't know that who's going to start the first 2 games, but Harbaugh already indicated on Monday that the other guys are going to play as well. I think because he has an opportunity in September with very manageable games, he's allowed to play around with it a little bit more. And we always talked about this summer because we knew McCarthy wasn't able to compete in the spring, that this was going to play out in fall camp and it was going to play out in September. So people shouldn't freak out about it. The part where you get where it can be a little bit dangerous is when you do get into October and you've got another guy looking over his shoulder. You've got another guy pressing because he wants to do something so he doesn't get pulled. 2 quarterbacks, historically, it doesn't work. It's never worked in pros. It's rarely worked in college football. Now, I like coaches that do things unconventionally when they work. This one is an exploding cigar, and he's really got to be careful in how he goes about this. Now, if he gets into October and he picks the one guy, and that guy's the starter 95% of the time. He wants to put somebody else in just to get him a couple reps here and there. That's okay, even though I don't like messing around with that. I mean, we could talk about it's great and everything else, but you know what happened last year after they lost to Michigan State? He didn't play McCarthy at all against Penn State, not one snap. McCarthy, for all of this, people talking about, well, he was in, he was rotating, he was playing a lot last year. He threw one pass against Ohio State. That was not a rotation. When the games were blowouts, he put McCarthy in and let him play a little bit. We don't know exactly how injured McNamara was against Michigan State. He just has to be careful once it gets into where the games are losable. Now, look, Harbaugh, it's a little bit strange to me because when he was talking about name, image, and likeness, he was talking about how it could be a distraction if one player was getting more money here and somebody else wasn't. And I get that. I didn't think that was going to be a distraction. But Harbaugh and coaches who you wouldn't think like distractions, Harbaugh came out and had his things that he had to say about abortion. That could be a total distraction. How he's dealt with Bo, that could be a total distraction. Now he has this that everybody across the country is saying it's going to be a total distraction. So he is getting into places where, other people, you have to understand the criticism, and everything is going to be fine if Michigan wins and whoever the starter is playing well. When it doesn't, he has set himself up for big-time criticism.
Yeah, the concept of distraction, you and I and everybody that reads stuff, we're focused on a lot of that stuff, and it's, but as a former player, I'm not really concerned about what other people are saying about outside of Schembechler Hall. And I'm just being honest. I think Jim does a pretty good. I can't speak for all them guys. I just know as a guy who was in that environment, we're in our submarine for the next 3 months, and we're not too concerned about a lot of those things. So I just think that's something that, and I think the JJ of year 2 is a different situation than the true freshman. So he's going to be, I think Jim's going to has more confidence in the kid this year. But I just, again, Denny, from a let's take Nebraska, defending Nebraska. We watched Nebraska with that kid that just threw the football, and that's all he did, the starter. And then they put that Smothers kid in there for one play. One play, they put that kid in there, and they ran the option with him. Now, the team that plays Nebraska next, they have to go look at that whole Adrian Martinez package with the option plays. They have to prepare their team for them because those plays are in. Those plays are in the playbook. So the same thing now with, obviously, but McNamara doesn't give me all the JJ stuff, but I got to prepare for a lot of that stuff they did with JJ, and it takes away from stopping some of Michigan's best stuff. So that's, again, another reason why I like the concept of 2 in that situation. Because, coaches sometimes, Danny, we put, what the swinging gate is, where the team will kick the extra point. They'll have 6 guys to the left. They have a center, a holder, and a kicker, and then they'll have a lot of teams will run some of those type of plays just to force the opposing team to spend 8-10 minutes on it every week. So it takes away from your preparation for stopping their best stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what coaches will do. They will find, how can I take more time from this guy's practice routine, and to take away from my best stuff. So anyway, listen, man, we're in a good situation. We've got 2 good ones. We're going into the year. Let's just see how it plays out. I'm a big believer in the decision now, but I made my piece. I made my statement. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think because of the schedule and because of the uncertainty of what went on in the spring, I have no problem with it because of how these games have laid out and what the schedule is. I just hope it doesn't continue into October. So that's where I'm at with it. Everybody, gives their opinion, and then we see how it plays out. So there we go. All right, Scar, let's get into some plays and taking a look at the telestrator. We know Michigan is playing Colorado State. Last week we were messing around with Nebraska and Northwestern. So let's talk about some plays, and we'll put them up on the screen, and you can walk us through what we're looking at.
Danny, I just want to show a couple plays from last year. I'm going to let it go through. This is the first series on the road against Nebraska, and they convert a 4th and 6. And I've been in this environment. You're on the road. It's loud. The first drive, they're bringing it down, and now we get them on the goal line here. Okay, we get it on 1st and 10 on the goal line, and I want to draw up a couple guys real quick. We got Jenkins here and Spite, and they do a great job. This is just basic fundamental defense, and they stuff their guy at the line of scrimmage, and we get them now 2nd and 8. So here's the next play, and we run this play, and we get a great job by our edge guy Hutchinson, and we're going to rewind it. And this is the kind of play we hope we get from Morris this year. But watch Hutchinson here. He does a good job of the defense is trying to put you in conflict here. Are you going to stop the running back? Are you going to stop the quarterback? And he does a decent job of taking away the inside, and he's athletic. This is why the kid went so early. He's athletic enough to run this thing down, and we did a good job by our linebacker there. This is Ross here, but he does a good job of running it down for a short gain. You know how much athletic ability that takes right there? But you're seeing from Hutchinson, that is tough to do. That's why he went so early. Let's look at the 3rd down play. Okay, here's another inside run, and I want you to watch Jenkins. This is a play that this is why I'm so fired up for him being back. We got Jenkins back. This is a short yardage, 3rd and 2. Got to know where you are on the field, and watch Jenkins right here. This is technique. This is recruiting. Great, tough kids. This is weight room, and he's just going to take this guy and stuff him in here. And let's walk through it real slow. He takes on that tackle. Look at him in here, making a play. That's strength. That's technique. Now we got a chance on 4th down. Okay, now we got a chance. It's 4th down. We did pretty good job. This is one of the greatest football plays of the year from my perspective for Michigan. And these two guys, right, this is a front that we hardly ever ran. We got 6 big dudes in the game. We got 3 defensive linemen, and they brought in 3 edge guys. They normally haven't run, but look where the ball is. It's 4th and 2. So this is smart coaches. This is great technique, but you're going to watch this kid right here, Morris, make a great play. You're going to see Hawkins make a great play here, and then Ross is going to have his body where it needs to be. But let's go real slow. So let's watch it. Now this guy goes in motion. This is coaching, Denny, and this is a smart kid. You recruit smart guys. They feel the motion. Morris feels the motion. Okay, he's not intimidated by the crowd. It's 4th and 2. It's loud. He's focusing on what's happening. He sees the motion, and now he comes and recognizes he's getting a crack block. He takes him on with great punch. You see the punch? If he meets him too far on this, that's a 1st down if he doesn't meet him here. He meets him at the line of scrimmage. And now watch Hawkins react. Hawkins reacts, and he's getting ready to meet his guy at the line. We're both in great shape. Morris is working to defend his gap right here. Hawkins is trying to get to the out. See, with this running back now, we have a new gap created. Morris is getting outside of that crack block. He read it good. Hawkins is feeling it. Great punch. And watch the hands. This is technique. These are drills they do every day in practice. Watch the hands come off it and make a play for a stop. You kidding me? I called my buddies after this play. I said, this game is over. We're winning this football game. Watch this play. This is beautiful. And Ross is in where he needs to be. 4th down stop. Michigan defense celebrating. Beautiful. Any thoughts, Denny?
Yeah, well, I enjoyed I think about Jenkins. It felt like it was just going to be a matter of time before we got Jenkins in there, and you started seeing where, he was going to be a factor. And with an off season where his strength is up, he's only going to get better. Scar, while you look at the next play, I'm going to take some of the feedback and I'm going to read some of it. And if we need to respond to it, I will. You just tell me when you're ready to go. Antoine saying Michigan's defense will be more stout this year. He can see the quarterback's pocket being constantly caved in. And Steven sounds like he's buying more sacks this year. Adrian's saying that the D-line is going to be dominate. Sorry, for some reason.
Listen, we got the guys I'm watching more than anything Saturday. More than anything are the edge guys. I'm looking for performance. I'm hoping we get it from Upshaw Morris, and he's got Harrell in there that he talked about as the top three. That's the position I'm focusing on, and we got to have great scheme though. We got to help our pass rushers with scheme, with conflict, with blitzes, with corner blitzes, safety blitzes, linebacker blitzes, slants and stunts. All that stuff helps your pass rush. You can't just say, go beat a guy. Sometimes you got to help them by put that offensive line in conflict. I took a quick look at Colorado State. This is their spring game. There's only a few plays I was able to get. But what's interesting is they're under center. Okay, we don't see many teams, very little, quarterback under center. Okay, so you're not going to see much, but we can kind of look at athletic ability. I like what I'm seeing here because I think our defensive line is going to have a good day against these guys up front. I don't see the kind of offensive linemen like we have in Ann Arbor. So our D-line should have a good day. Okay, I see a fullback in the game. There's a fullback right here. We don't see much of that. So we would have had their spring game, Denny. We would have had this game. We probably sent some people out there, maybe a grad assistant, to maybe film it. I don't know if they still do those things, but we definitely would have researched this game. So here's a fullback, and here's an old school isolation play. Or no, it's a fake ISO and a quarterback, and let's run it. But anyway, fullback in the game. That's something we'll be working on. I see players that here's another quarterback I saw in their spring game. So they had two quarterbacks, and again they're running a lot of it. We saw some I-back formations, and we hardly saw that. This play we see a lot because we run this play. Michigan runs this play. We should be able to defend it. But again, I'm looking at talent. When I look at this offensive line, I don't see the kind of guys like Michigan has. When I see this defensive line, that ain't Mozzie Smith right there. Okay, that ain't Chris Jenkins. So our guys are going to be, I think we're going to be better. Let's see. We run this exact play with Alls coming across, with Shooney coming across, and we'll run it better than they do. Let's look at the next play. But again, there's only a few plays I was able to get off their spring game. It looks like they have two quarterbacks. They run the same stuff with both quarterbacks. I don't know which one we're going to see. Penn State runs this play. We've seen that play before. One more play, and then we'll shut it down. They got the turnover belt there. So here's I-backs again. So we got to prepare for, even though you only have a few plays, but you have to prepare for this stuff. Here's the I formation. Again, with a fullback. There's very few people we played all year. Wisconsin was the only team that had a fullback, I think, last year. A little bit of Iowa. So this is, something to prepare for. Anyway, that's that, Denny. And we can shut this down here then.
Well, it's already, just watching what you had there, that's more than I have considered Colorado State all off season. So that was, I didn't know the possibility of the two quarterbacks. You see a little screen game that I would think that they would want to work a little screen game in on Michigan. And I would think they would also try to test Michigan's linebackers. That was one thing last year where the running backs out of the backfield had some success, and Nebraska had some success. Michigan State had some success as well, getting their running backs on Michigan's linebackers. So Michigan will have worked on that, but they're going to have to prove it. And I would think Colorado State would try to do some of that, especially if they've got some running backs that can catch the ball.
Yeah, they're going to do what they're going to obviously have to do what they can within the framework of what they do offensively. You don't want to put in too much stuff that you really don't do. You can try to run your stuff, but I feel real good after looking at just athletically. I think we're going to have much better players. I don't know how many kids, just looking at them, I don't know how many kids from Colorado State could start for Michigan. I don't think there's too many. So I like what I saw. In fact, that's going to be my pick, Danny. I was really liking Rutgers this week. I think Rutgers on the road, getting 7. I like Rutgers getting 7. I like they got 2 quarterbacks at Boston College. But my pick of the week, I'm going to get right into it. And I don't think I picked them all last year. I'm taking Michigan, laying 27.5. I think we're going to beat this team. I think we're going to run it. We're going to throw it. We're going to work on everything. We're going to have success in everything. And I think they're going to have a real hard time moving the ball against us. So I'm going to work right into my pick of the week, Denny. It's Michigan, 27.5. I think that score is going to be about 42-3, 42-6 type deal.
Well, that's the way to do it. You give me the Michigan pick and then fold it right into that ends up being your pick of the week. I like that. Tell me, you said a little bit earlier, the things that you would be looking for in the game, the pass rushers, and I think a lot of people are going to keep an eye on the defense just to see how different it looks. You got a different coordinator. You don't have Hutchinson out there anymore. Is there going to be this playmaking ability that people are going to be able to pick up on? Obviously the quarterbacks and how they go out there, every single throw that they make, everything is under the microscope when it comes down to the QBs. I think that we're all going to be charting it and looking at it as close as we possibly can. But other than that, I do think the defense that you talked about, just seeing how that looks, seeing if it looks athletic, seeing if you can determine, is this guy going to be the playmaker? That's what they're looking for.
Yeah, I know as a former coach, you're not worried about. I ain't worried about Mozzie Smith. I'm not worried about Hayes, our big left tackle. It's the guys that are going to get their first start. Those are the guys you really, as a coach, you're kind of like, let's hope he steps up. Let's hope that we got the right guy. And there's a few positions. I'm going to be looking at the center. I want to watch the center, man. I'm going to take a good look at him. I want to look at this new right tackle in here. Jones is probably. It looks like he's the guy, and
yeah,
let's see how he does. And really going to be watching him. But some of these young receivers are they going to play some of the young receivers? But I feel good about it. Something I just wanted to mention about Jim Harbaugh's comments. Some of the guys he mentioned, it isn't so much what people say; it's what they don't say. And I don't want to mention the names, but there's names he did not mention. I think he put out a depth chart. Something he hasn't done so much in the past, but he put out a depth chart, and he mentioned names at a lot of positions, almost every darn position. But I'm not going to be the guy to do it. But if you want to Columbo it and mention and figure out what names he didn't mention, I wouldn't doubt if some of those names you see on the transfer list. I'm just throwing it out there. But if you didn't mention your name and you're not in the too deep and you're a 3rd-year guy, a 4th-year guy, and you got a couple years of eligibility, those are the guys that are going to be thinking real hard about their situation, especially if he mentioned young guys. If you're a 3rd-year guy and he mentioned young guys, a freshman in front of you, that's something to be concerned about. And in a way, it's kind of this transfer stuff, making it easy for some of those guys who are 3rd-year guys. I kind of like some of that stuff that's happening, that, guys that are good players that just happen to be playing behind really, really good players, and they don't ever get to see the field. And I played with many guys like that where they were great players, and the transfer rules were different then, and they just never really saw the field. So I just think you might be hearing some names here. Let's see how it plays out.
All right, Scar, 12 o'clock on Saturday, and then after the game, we'll fire up the video. We'll come in here. We'll talk about some of the plays. We'll read your feedback during the game. So I'm sorry, after the game on the post-game show. So people be aware of that. We will be here right after the game talking about it. So you'll have that. And then if you're watching something else right after, there are some games. There's a Oregon-Georgia game there at 3:30. You might just go right into that. And of course, afterwards, it's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame. So if you're watching all 3 windows, just know that you'll have the opportunity to go back. Sunday morning might be a good time to say, you know what, those guys, they're on the podcast. They're on YouTube. Why don't I go and see what their thoughts were about the game? Because we'll be giving it, we'll be laying it out there. So if you want it live right after the game, we'll be there for you. And then afterwards, we'll have it all recorded for you. And I do know it's nice you have all these games, but late Saturday, you want more Michigan, early Sunday morning, you want opinions about Michigan, you'll have that for us. We'll have that for you. So pay attention.
Yeah, we'll break it down, man. Well, I'll have my DVR going and studying it and watching it like when I was coaching, man, trying to look at every Michigan play 3-4 times and figure out why a play worked or why it didn't work or why we stopped them or why we didn't stop them and trying to break it down with good analysis. I'll say this, Denny, we got Colorado State at home. It is what it is. But this team we got right now, this is the year I wish we were going to Texas to open up or going to Oklahoma to open up. You 2 quarterbacks, the whole offensive line back, all these tight ends back, a lot of guys on defense back. But it is what it is. But this is the team you really want to go on the road when that day comes. But it's going to be a great year, man. Jim has the table set. Players got to make plays.
Well, it's been a great show. It's been a little different for me being out here on the road and upstairs where I'm at my wife's work. So I want to thank her for letting me go in here and yell and scream in the back room while we get ready for this game coming up on Saturday. All right, Scar, we will see you after the game on Saturday. Great job, and it's here. Now we just have to go to sleep 1 or 2 more times and wake up and we'll have football.
We've been waiting. We're ready. We pay, our players have paid the price. Our coaches are ready. We're really going to be looking at these coordinators too, Denny. I'm going to see if I see any differences in the aggressiveness with Moore and Weiss, and then on defense, I'm going to be taking a close look at what is Minter doing. What do I see differently with scheme techniques? But we'll be ready to go. We're fired up.
All right, Scar. We'll see you Saturday after the game.
Take Michigan, win some money.
There you go. You got it from Jim Scarcelli. I'm Dennis Fithian.